Back with another one, Bad News Brown. So Jadakiss went to private school. Now everybody got something to say. And if you don't know, I guess recently Jadakiss was on a Joe Budden podcast, him and his pops. And I guess I didn't see the interview, but I guess they was talking about life and family or whatever, and Pops mentioned that, hey, Jadakiss went to private school, kind of put him on blast. Because I seen that short clip. And then Jadakiss, they laughing. And then Jadakiss, he threw Sheik and what's her name under the bus as well and said they went to the same school too. And it kind of reminded me really, y'all, of when Notorious Big Mom, I remember they had an interview, I mentioned this before, and they asked her about, his song Juicy, and him saying how he was coming up broke or whatever. She was like, nah, Christopher wasn't raised like that. And I just thought it was kind of funny, but that means a lot of things, and I'm going to break it down real quick. Well, for one, it don't surprise me that Jadakiss went to private school. I mean, that's why he can rap so good. It takes intelligence. And you'd be surprised how many rappers or entertainers or people that you may think got something out the mud, as I'll put it, but turned out they're quite educated. I'm not going to say privileged, because I'm talking about Jadakiss per se. And again, I didn't see the whole interview, so just because you went to private school don't mean you grew up rich. And this is what I'm getting at, because due to the fact that he's in the rap game, that's kind of looked at as a smear. And that's one of the things that's kind of backwards when it comes to our culture. Or I'm going to put it, I'm just going to say backwards, because I could further clarify, because it's a time and place for everything. But since our culture is not intact, we don't know how to separate it. So it's just across all phases of our culture, the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But that's actually another video. I just kind of want to just talk about how don't be ashamed if you educated. Period, for one. And another thing, really kind of I was saying, it's like a catch-22. Because you a gangster rapper, you gotta, in order to push your street cred or further your street cred, you gotta promote the criminal lifestyle. Again, you'll be surprised. I remember when I first heard that 2 Chainz had a medical degree. And it's nothing wrong, that ain't like, and that's not to downplay the medical degree, but again, this reminds me of when Rick Ross when they first discovered Rick Ross was a CO. And I made a video, I recommend y'all watch that video where I really break that down. But I remember I forgot who it was being interviewed, because at first Rick Ross denied it. And they was interviewing somebody, one of them old school East Coast hip hop heads, and he was just kind of like, what's being ashamed of having a job? Hell, them COs, they make hella money. And they get all the OT you want. They stunting. COs making more than the police officers. That remind me when I did time in Soledad, one of the COs was telling me, he was like, when they getting off work, a lot of times the CHP will be right there, like to pull them over, because they know they was banking more than them. So it's a catch-22 when you in a type of game promoting yourself as a Billy Badass or a criminal, and that's just in general. This is not really speaking on Jadakiss per se personally, but it is quite funny. But it don't surprise me, because of how he flow. Now, does that mean you have to go to a private school in order to be able to rap? Hell no, of course we know that ain't what I'm saying. But again, it don't surprise me, and that's probably why he rap that good. That's just the point. I'm just gonna keep it straight up, and that's something on the side for y'all to think about. But I'm going back to, and I ain't gonna go too deep, but a lot of people that you think is somebody else. And again, this is not to downplay Jadakiss, but okay, he's the educated brother from Yonkers. He the real head of CMB. But all BS to the side, it's nothing to be ashamed of. And this is really more or less to kids coming up again to catch 22. I see a lot of kids be ashamed because they was raised right, or you got parents that care. So you can't just you can't be outside. You got a curfew. So, and this is what happens with people who supposedly, quote unquote, had good parents or had a good lifestyle, and they end up in the streets. A lot of cases. This is probably why, because this is just the game we living in. So it's backwards, but that's what it is. So everybody chasing criminality, but the whole Jadakiss thing, yeah, it's kind of shocking. You can tell how Jadakiss responded to it. He was laughing, but he kind of like feel like you got put on blast. But I know from Pop's perspective, he like, hell yeah, I raised my kids right. I don't give a damn what he told you or what he ended up doing. I know I did my part. That's kind of like how I take it when these adults say that. Same with Notorious Big Mom. She like, nah, we wasn't rich, but I took care of Christopher. Because, she got the little accent. But I want to make people aware of when it come to, like I was saying, the catch-22 as I'm putting it. As far as being ashamed or gotta hide that you either got some type of intelligence or you was raised right. Because it's ass backwards. And don't get me wrong, intelligence, but that's a different video, because stupid people or a lot of people will associate intelligence with weakness. And don't get me wrong, a nerd is a nerd, but like I said, that's a different video. And that don't necessarily make you weak. Again, that's a different video. But and that goes to a little something a little deeper, because we tend to associate intelligence or perfectness, and excuse me for lack of better words, with whiteness, and negativity with being black. A good example is you tell somebody to act white, they start acting all proper and structured. You tell them to act black, and they start acting dysfunctional, whether they even realize it or not. And that's conditioning, and that's kind of where, on a deeper tone, this really comes from, where it stems from. But I don't care who you is out there, man. If you're one of them youngsters, man, and you got parents that love you and take care of you, man, don't be ashamed of that. And you might got partners that they don't got the parents. So, bruh, out there, he got to be out there, and that's all he got. Or he might got a whole bunch of money too, but that's his good dollars. You understand? And he got to do what he got to do now for him. And that's a video. I got a spiel for that brother too, though. But at the same time, ain't don't be no follower. And, man, don't let nobody try to throw that type of shit in your face, man. And, of course, don't take no shots. I don't care who you is or how you was raised. Don't take no shots, man. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, you won't have to learn. So you might get played once or twice until you figure it out, and you ain't got no friends. But that's a different video as well. But bad dudes, brown man, because I can go on and on about that, because I really know what it is at the root. But I'm just going to stick to the surface on this. Jadakiss go to private school. It don't surprise me. And you be surprised about how many people who you may think got something a certain way and they didn't. No different than the brother with a good job and he ride clean, look like a D-boy. That nigga ride a good job. He ain't even hustling.